Stabilization Program, also known as CCRSP, which is funded from the state award under the Coronavirus Relief Fund, established by the CARES Act, H.R. 748, Section 5001, on March 27, 2020, provided by the United States Department of Treasury, CFDA number 21.019, to the state of New Hampshire, acting through the agency identified in paragraph 1.1, hereinafter referred to as DHHS. The grantee identified in paragraph 1.3, hereinafter referred to as the grantee, agrees that covenants that the funds will be used solely for an allowable purpose as defined in H.R. 748, Section 5001, for which grantee has not received payment or reimbursement from any other source, defined as necessary business expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease 2019, otherwise known as COVID-19, or decreased or lost revenue as a result of the coronavirus disease 2019 that occurred between March 1st, 2020 and December 30th, 2020. The amount of the funds from the grant is $60,000 to offset the lost revenues from no programs and reduced programs offered by the Littleton Parks and Rec program since March 1st, 2020 to the present. Provisions, okay. So it is, we've got 15 minutes, correct? We'll leave it open if there are any questions or comments.
Just a general recap. These are funds to displace revenue that we didn't gain during the year from the programs, Parks and Rec. When it said covenants that the funds will be used solely for an allowable purpose, so do we have restrictions on these funds, or is it just?
There are, and so specifically the funding is for loss of revenue and also needs. So we had to buy new tables, we had to buy cleaning supplies for 6 different pods, not just the 2 or 3 areas that we have generally. So it covers all of those. It covers staffing needs because our ratios were 1-to-4 rather than 1-13 that they are generally, because we had 2 staff and 8 kids at each location all summer. So it covers our extra staffing, including the time that I spent on preparation, planning, Christy Huxall as well. So it replaces all of those funds and lets us, all of the revenue that we didn't make because we only had 48 kids instead of 75 kids. So it covers that gap as well. So we probably, at the end of it, probably lost more than that 60 based on staffing, but it's a huge chunk that we're going to be able to recover for this.
Awesome.
That's good. Any other questions, comments? Well, we'll leave it open for the next, until 5:15, and then we'll ask for a motion. So the next item on the agenda is that Dennis Hartwell is going to be here to talk about the Christmas parade.
Do we have to wait till 5:15 since that's when the meeting was noticed, or?
No.
No. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's a good question. Very good question. So do you want to fill us in, Andrew, on that? Because obviously Dennis isn't here and some things are transpired.
I believe, and I want to speak for him, but I believe that he's deciding to cancel the event. So traditionally the event was sponsored and run through the Chamber of Commerce. Earlier this year, the Chamber informed Dennis that they would no longer run the event through the organization. The town moved forward to partner with Dennis as a municipal community event with no budgetary impact. We were bringing him in under Parks and Recreation. So Dennis has been working closely with municipal officials in an effort to plan the Christmas parade with safety measures in place. However, he's determined that given the current concerns of coronavirus-19, that the event would be canceled. We anticipate that we bring the event back up next year, and again, working through the Parks and Rec program, Dennis raises all of his own funds so that it's not a financial burden to the taxpayers. And he acts as a community volunteer to coordinate and organize the event.
And I think we too, as it's mentioned here, definitely thank Dennis for his hard work over the years.
What's on the great parade?
He does.
He really and truly does. And I know it's disappointing, but it's the right thing to do. So do you want to?
Yeah, I'll just jump into the town manager's report.
Sure.
So we have a new website. The website actually came online several weeks ago. Chris Wilkins, had a little bit of extra time without having the programs that he normally would. So he really was key in helping us. And also Chad, thanks a lot for your help in us getting this
That's
up and
amazing.
running. So providing citizens relevant information and municipal process access is at the core of our civic responsibility. Littleton's new website is a result of finding a website platform that could offer a blend of functionality, ease of maintenance, and cost effectiveness. The website provides an expandable platform to give the public access to timely information, provide feedback, or submit requests. The website will be a continued work in progress as it is adapted to provide efficient and open access to our government. We're already right now working, the Public Works Department is working with a website add-on called C-Click Fix. It'll enable you to take your cell phone and we have a pretty active morning walking group. I think you do it, a number of other people do, and so by the morning we usually have a good report of text messages to myself or others, about broken curbs or handrails that are broken or trees down or just graffiti and that sort of thing. So this new app is going to allow people to report anything from potholes to down trees with a pretty quick access. I think it gives GPS coordinates, tags the image, and goes right through to the appropriate department. So we're going to experiment with that and see if that's worth it.
Speaking of that, of the walking and the seeing issues, retaining wall on Oak Hill Ave, across from the high school. I don't know if we own it or the landowner owns it or the school owns it because it was put up during their, when they renovated that, but that top is starting to deteriorate.
Yeah. Have you met with that property owner?
Not regarding that one, no.
No.
But I'm aware of the situation.
Yeah.
There's a number of retaining walls.
Yeah, there's quite a few retaining walls in town. It's a
Somebody did
regular issue.
the retaining wall study years ago.
Yeah.
I can probably report a little bit on that because I've been in touch with the New Hampshire Municipal Association regarding that. Because they're trying to get some clear guidance on interpretation of responsibility for the many walls that we have. And they kind of confirmed what, I think has been a standard decision here is if the wall holds up the abutter's land, it's their responsibility, or if it's holding up the town road, and it's the town's responsibility. They basically confirm that that's an appropriate judgment for,
Unless it's in the deed or something else.
unless there's something that specifically ties it to the town responsibility.
I know we've partnered with property owners in the past on some significant ones, like on Church Street, and then also on Upper School Street. There were some ones that the property owner themselves would be pretty difficult to do. But.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
So next up is sewer bills. So the 2020 second issue sewer bills were mailed out on October 13th and are now due on November 16th. The total amount of the warrant is $562,876.35. And payment can be made through the mail, online, or our fancy new website. You can pay any of your property taxes or any other fees, car registration or sewer bills, and you can look yourself up by map and lot number, address, or name. So you can also spy on your neighbors and see what their bills are. So Opera House updates. Let's see, I think I put these up out of order. So sound system upgrade, and really a big thanks to Doug. This could not have happened without Doug's coordination. There's just too much going on, and some engineering expertise was definitely needed to get the project moving. So the project has been completed within a 1-year time extension, but this year it's also been marked by the pandemic and the closure of the Opera House. So we haven't really been able to utilize the act of having it installed, even though it's only been installed for a short period of time. But a list of the specific expansions and improvements beyond the original grant proposal narrative, and Doug can fill in a little bit beyond this, is we have a fully digitally based backbone system that has expansion capabilities to serve every level, room, or space within the Opera House, which is pretty amazing. The ability for wireless connection of devices through a touch panel and integrated Yamaha Music Cast AirPlay and Bluetooth receiver. Has a higher grade of speakers with Yamaha's latest generation Nexo P Plus speaker line. Additional two-way intercoms in the 2 dressing rooms for theatrical performances. An addition of 6 assisted listening devices for the hearing impaired. And if you have time after, I invite you to just take a walk around, take a look at some of the equipment that's been installed. Doug, I don't know if you have anything else to add about that?
No, because that was kind of my summary, and
Yep.
yeah, there's a few fix-it items on the list, but overall the system's installed. Still need some training on it. It's kind of designed for the basic user. There's a touchpad right there that's for the basic operation of the mics and stuff. But the more complex connections are over there in the corner where they can put in the advanced soundboard and run a full, for all you that underperformance ears here, there's always wires stretched out all over the floor from back here up to there, and that's all gone. That won't be needed anymore. It's all digital. There's network cable running everywhere, and pretty top-notch system.
I don't understand how this works, but this system is designed so that when we finish the bottom level cultural arts center, that it can actually control the sound systems down in that level too. That's
Yep.
correct?
It has expansion capability, reception capability. I mean, it'll require additional speakers and things of that nature, but they can use the same core system.
There's 2 components remaining of the overall project for the venue.
Correct. We're working on the lighting and rigging phase next.
Actually, just gonna ask about that. How are those coming?
Good. We're working through the same company, but because of the timeline, we prioritize the sound system and get that done. So we're finishing up some of the final details to get the lighting system finished for design.
When do you think that'll be completed?
Well, we're going to try to get it done for the end of the year.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your hard work on that, Doug.
So the Cultural Arts Center project, just to give you an update, there's probably not going to be a lot of exciting updates on it, but we're continuing to hammer away at it. So the project continues with our bi-weekly planning and design sessions. Recently, we ran into a significant challenge. Just like the sound system and the sound system upgrade project, barriers are created by the historic preservation easement. But the project envisions teaming up with some other community organizations to try to see a way through it. So, some of the components that are on the exterior of the building, you can imagine, getting a little pushback, but we're going to continue to work with the Division of Historic Resources to see if we can come to some sort of a resolution. So, also an update, we have the live venue relief program. So you probably saw in the newspaper a week or so ago about the governor's office for emergency relief and recovery released a new grant opportunities specifically for venues that have experienced revenue loss during the COVID-19 virus impacts. So we had about 7 days from the announcement. We submitted an application for the Opera House revenue losses for 2020, which are estimated in excess of $20,000. And the interesting thing is my daughter had a school program where she was supposed to research a grant, so I actually had her do this one for us. So, yeah, nature was okay with us.
It is 5:15, so we can go ahead and, if there are further questions, comments as far as the source of income for child care recovery and stabilization program, anything else?
When we make an motion, do we have to do it to accept and expend, or just accept?
It would have to be,
In this case, it's accept because
It's already been expended.
yeah, yes.
I'll make a motion that we accept the $60,000 from Child Care Recovery and Stabilization Program.
No second?
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you. Any hard work?
Aye.
I actually didn't.
No, it's all right.
Chris did 99% of it. I had to sign off on it, that was it.
If we just jump back to the
Sure.
town meeting report? Okay, and Doug, don't go anywhere, because you're up. So Department of Public Works updates. So I've got a short list of items that Doug's going to give some quick updates on. First up is the election location. The Public Works Garage has, with election workers and the way that the traffic flows through the site needs to have a back exit now, so there's one way and ADA improvements around the side. And Doug worked on that project.
It came out very nicely. We got a good, our crew actually went out and did the preparation work for it, and we were concerned that we could get a ADA accessible slope over there on that side of the building, but it's going to work out. So,
What about lighting back there, Doug?
that I haven't looked at actually. I believe we do have a safety light on that side of the building, but I'll have to double check.
Because I'm just concerned, because we'll have turned our clocks back.
Yeah. If need be, we can arrange some temporary lighting, I'm sure, to be out there. So I believe there's going to be a new wooden building delivered, temporary building delivered out front. And by metal leasing, from what I understand, with some heat put into it.
That's good.
Yeah, things are coming together for all those
Generous.
details.
Yeah, good, yeah.
Did you have that first one? Yeah, I see that up there. Yeah. And then Main Street sidewalk. Andrew, I'm presuming you're talking about our work to clean the sidewalks and.
How you're turning it into a positive.
Yep.
In
Yeah, the good thing is we come up with a solution through steaming the sidewalks. It's just a matter of the effort it's going to take, and we're trying to either schedule it through our own crews or possibly looking at some vendors that might be able to help us out with that. But it's going to be something we're going to tackle in the spring. We're going to let the winter, take a tear at that and see if we can help remove some of the staining we've got there, and we're going to tackle it in the spring when we normally do our sidewalk cleaning and sealing. So, I mean, we're glad we found a solution that works. And
So you're gonna wait and do that in the spring?
correct. Yeah.
Probably most of it will be gone by the time spring comes around with
We're done.
the salt and the running over it with the plows and stuff, so.
Yeah, some of the
It'd be better
concerns
time to
were,
do it.
part of the concerns were to do that kind of effort now would take us away from all our other tasks that we really need to get done for the winter. And plus we'd have to reseal the sidewalks again right now after they were pressure washed. So it would be extra money to do that.
Still protected for the winter, we just need to.
So they will be protected.
Yep.
So the strength, we're not worried about the effects that unequal coverage would put
Well,
on.
that was some of the issues. Our existing sealant is a soak-in type sealant, and it's still there.
Okay.
We just switched to a different product that's now over the top of it. So, and that one did kind of go down somewhat inconsistently. So that's what you see, but in reality.
So we'll be all right doing it in the spring.
That's what I meant by it, and that makes sense. That's an update on that one. You guys probably seen the work down there on the River District bank of the river there, and that was something that was on my to-do list from kind of the beginning, because we constantly are combating all the brush growing up in there, and this time we contracted it out, and the company did a great job. We removed any dead trees or any trees that were leaning, kept everything that was a good tree. We just removed
Did I
all
see
the brush.
one fell on a car on Saturday?
Unfortunately, that wasn't part of that project. That wasn't on the riverbank. He took out one of our brand new lights,
Yeah.
just about destroyed it.
See, I think that one's been hit by a tree before, or something of that nature. I remember it coming down.
Oh, really?
I think one other time it did come down.
That particular light one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So, anyways, yeah. We've been catching up on roadside mowing. We did get a little behind schedule on that for this year, but we were able to, fortunately, we got one of our winter seasonal help workers back early, and we were able to get him going, help us out, getting caught up on roadside mowing. So, I don't know if we fully caught up, but we got out and took care of some of the maybe more important roads that needed care on that. Mill Street project, that's been ongoing. Andrew and I met with Doug Frizzell to particularly talk about the sidewalks or where to put the sidewalk adjacent to his buildings down there. We've been trying to get some practical feedback to our design consultant, because they're just needing some guidance from the town in terms of their design parameters for the project. And again, we were trying to get as much, the layout we've got down there seemed to work really well, the temporary plan that we put in place, and so we're trying to somewhat replicate that, but at the same time possibly get the sidewalks, raise sidewalks a little bit closer to the buildings and a little bit more roadway for maneuvering, deliveries, and traffic coming through there. So that was a successful field meeting that we took away some good points from that. We've been working with our design consultant on a contract amendment. We're throwing a lot of extra things at him in terms of changes and scenarios of Mill Street, and there's some other aspects of the project that have taken some extra design efforts. So we're working on a contract amendment with them right now and trying to get them 100% into final design, with the goal of having the project ready for next year. So that's kind of update on that project. And then road paving, I think I reported to the board a few months ago, probably back when the project was first put in place, but we were able to do quite a bit more road paving this year than what we anticipated because the bids coming in so well. So we're doing about 6.5 miles of road throughout town. So we've got probably 3/4 of it done. We still have to finish some work on Slate Ledge Road and then Partridge Lake Road. So,
What are you guys doing on the clean up culverts and ditches and stuff?
They've been doing, as far as I know, the guys have been out checking culverts, and they do that annually, typically this time of the year. So I haven't heard anything one way or the other as to being behind on that, so as far as I know, that's been worked on.
Thank you. And do we have a time when that app for, that would go to the website, you know what I mean?
The quick fix.
Yeah.
We're still working out some of the details, and I'm actually partnering with Parks and Police Chief too, to, because they basically put in some pre-programmed topics for people to make comments on, whether it's a pothole or an issue with a parked car, or something going on at the parks. And you've got to create your categories of topics. You don't just so somebody, when they submit, they get to pick which area they're submitting on. So the three of us we're working on what our categories of questions or topics would be for people to submit on. So I think we're trying to get that done. Is that correct?
We still have another training as well for us folks on the back end of each one of those categories, making sure they get sent to the right place, and then we know what to do with them once we get it. So we're working on our categories, and then we'll have a training, and then at a meeting, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to shoot that out and tell people to start using it. The more data we get, the easier it will be for us to say, yes, it's worth it, or no, we're not getting enough to do it, or to keep it going.
Would there be one category that would be kind of general or miscellaneous, just in case there's something that doesn't fit into?
I mean, whether it deals with anything on the street, sidewalk, I think the categories hit everything that's needed pretty well. They are basing our list off of, like the city of Burlington has a huge list. We don't need everything on their list, but the one that we have should cover everything that will be relevant to Littleton. So, and it's easy for us if we find that we need another category or general, we can always add them in later. It's pretty flexible in that regard.
Okay, good, thank you.
And we also have a citizen submittal system on our webpage now. On the webpage, we've already received a number of inquiries, which is really general. It can be on anything.
So it's already rating the importance of each one of these.
Yes, so we will, when an email comes in, say it's for a playground, I can assign it to one of my staff members, and it will create a work order for us. And whoever wrote the complaint will see what's the status of that. And if the work order isn't completed by a certain number of days, then it sends the manager an alert in that department. So it's meant to be a very efficient system. So we're excited to get it up and running.
Or it could be the opposite, maybe somebody's gonna give you a compliment.
Hopefully that'd be nice. Yeah.
That might happen. Alright, so next up on the, let's see here,
Vehicle replacement.
vehicle replacement plan. have, on there, we really just had Public Works, but we should have had all of them. And if you remember from our earlier discussion, so at a previous Board of Selectmen meeting, the DPW and other departments had presented the 2021 vehicle replacement plan. And we've also presented to the budget committee. And really just to kind of restate what the purpose of creating this is so that we can have a planning process to plan out a lot of our major purchases and try to balance out costs. And Karen and Doug have worked on a leveling plan that allows for us to be shifting from a process where we have to raise the money through debt every time to where we would be contributing as debt comes off from our catch-up plan, that the debt would then be, the savings would be then going into equipment reserve funds that would help to self-finance equipment purchases, giving a stable tax rate. And so really what we're looking for with the select board adopting these as your official recommended plans is it will give clear direction to the budget committee, to voters and staff, and help us educate the public with these.
Do you guys have any questions, comments
I guess we almost need an evaluation of the equipment, some of it to find out, how bad it is and what the replacement, as far as, how much is needed. I know that there's like the sweeper, which a lot of towns are contracting out to sweepers to come in and do the initial sweeping after the season is over, which is the hardest part of the sweeper. And then using the older one for just maintenance and whatever else you want to do, which will cut the cost down. I mean, you're looking at $250,000 probably for a sweeper, right? And, there's just some things that really should be looked over and thought about. As far as replacement for some of that stuff, is it can be farmed out a lot cheaper than it would be to have that piece of equipment. Granted, it doesn't get used every day.
Right.
And the hardest part of those things is sweeping that salt and sand up in the first part of the year. If you can get the wear and tear on somebody else's equipment besides ours on that. Still use hours for doing stuff.
I can take a look at some cost analysis on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to say that the plan itself can't change based on additional information, but to have one that is a baseline for us to work on and start, provide direction to us in the budget committee. And they'll, I'm sure, as we go through too, when we start to really hammer down on the budget, probably recommend changes to.
Do we want to go with a motion then, if we consider making a motion with that in mind? What are your thoughts on that?
Right, so it's not so rock solid, per se. Yeah,
There has some flexibility.
a little bit flexible.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
Well, right now, making a motion that the select board adopts the 2021 DPW vehicle replacement plan. Just some wording so that it builds into it flexibility. But I'm not sure how. Are you okay with that, Doug?
Oh, yeah.
Because if you
I
get
understand where you're coming from.
Because if you get some figures, as Roger had mentioned too, that says, gee, we could do it a little cheaper, less expensive. It,
Something like borrowing additional information or incorporating additional information as
maybe reviewing additional information. So it's
Adopted 2021 DPW vehicle replacement plan
reviewing additional,
With,
with,
Based on fleet needs, which, I mean, that almost covers.
that's actually covered based on, basic, put that right on the end, based on, so we could do, 2021 DPW vehicle replacement plan with reviewing additional information based on fleet needs.
Yeah, that's what it says.
okay,
I'll make that motion, Sam.
And I'll second.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good. Thank you.
And next up, we have, slide for it, but we have the salvage equipment request. And Doug's here to answer any questions, but the following vehicles are being requested to be approved for disposal. Fire Department engine number 3, 1996. This is the year of acquisition, or the year of the vehicle in need. Public Works International 6-wheel dump truck number 6, year 2000. Public Works International 6-wheel dump truck number 16, year 2002. And Public Works Ford F-550 truck number 3, 2008.
So we got ordered in to dispose of them in the least costly way. There's no way of being able to get anything for them.
There might be some salvage value to the metal.
Okay.
I mean, can you put it out to bids like you do on the old cruisers and stuff, because there's people looking for parts, and
Yeah, we'll put them up to bids.
if you can put them out to bid, it's a lot better than trying to dispose of, and get 2 cents a pound.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I recommend it. Yeah, if we can get some value for it, definitely to pursue that.
Did we cycle anything through the transfer station? I know we were talking about that at one of the last meetings.
Possibly, but it'd be from the trucks that we'd be currently replacing with the 10-wheeler.
Okay, so none of these?
So none of those. None of those can pass inspection.
So do we want to consider making a motion that we approve the following list?
I'll make a motion that the select board approve the following list of vehicles as salvage and authorize the town manager to dispose of them in the least costly way. That was.
Okay,
And I'll second.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Right.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so next up, I have under the Board of Assessors, assessing procedures and RFP for assessing services. I forgot my phone. Can I give you a phone number? Our assessor was, the reappraisal assessor was going to be available.
Do you want to call him?
Yeah. We'll get along. Robert Tozer from ART Appraisal, they're doing the mass appraisal with the community.
Do you know if any of the officers are there right now? I said, do the school.
Yeah, it's like 47.
1 minute, I'll call the number.
What do you need?
I just need to drop something off for Jill and Steve.
Can you do it tomorrow?
What's happening?
Because they're not there, you know. I mean, you could leave it for one reason.
I just figured I'd have one of the officers use on the desk.
There's somebody there.
Okay.
But you have to go to the call box and call them.
I'll just call the number. See ya.
See you later.
Okay, it's
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
See you,
Thank
Chris,
you.
thank
See you,
you.
Chris.
So Andrew, you're going to
We've got him on.
what?
We've got him on.
Absolutely.
So, it's been about 5 years since we put about 5 years since we put the general assessing services out to bid. So our current contract for general assessing services, the day-to-day assessing, expires December 31st of this year. And so what the difference is the contract that we had with them, we set it up so that it would be general assessing services and a quarter of the properties would be measured and listed each year, which would then lead us to in the 5th year doing the statistical appraisal, which is where we're at right now. What I want to propose, which is different than our draft RFP that you have in front of you, is to do a just general assessing services RFP, and then once we get closer to our 5th year, or the VRA requires a revaluation, that the revaluation be put out to bid separately. This contract includes them both, but I'm saying I'd like to do separate contracts for each. And so, if you guys are okay with me putting it out to bid as soon as possible, what I will do is create another draft, work on that usually internally with Amy, who's really our she acts as our assessing clerk, and then Joanne, who also is involved in assessing to some extent. I would like to have it out as soon as possible to give any proposed bidders the healthy amount of time to submit. After that, you as the Board of Assessors would receive the proposals, and we can help you review and create a cost analysis and select the contractor for the next 7 to 5 years.
Would it be beneficial to ask for 2 proposals, one where they're done separate and then one combined?
We could do that.
I don't know, I'm just trying to think if there's a economy of scale, so to speak, of having it all done. I'm wondering if that's what was originally done 5 years ago, and now I take it we want to look at it differently. Is it just to have another set of eyes, or is it a...
I think in would have been 2015, MRI actually was the general assessing contractor, and then KRT was the revaluation contractor. And my thought was just you have 2 sets of eyes looking at somebody who comes in. And with the market moving so quickly right now, when you do a measuring list each quarter, you're probably not picking up stuff that happened in that first year of the 4 years. You were out and measured list all those properties, a lot could have changed since then. So with
I
that,
can tell you, we've all been getting plenty of thoughts about those and assessments, and we did it last year and this year, and like I get it that it's a crazy market and stuff's going to go up, and hopefully the tax rate goes down accordingly. But, I don't think necessarily that, and that second set of eyes would hurt the situation. And maybe it's the same company, when we look at stuff, the same company has the best. And I don't want to sound like it precludes them from bidding on the second one.
right, yeah.
Do you want to still have Andrew send it out with 2 bids?
I don't know, what do you...
Separate, one combined?
Well, now, if we were to separate it, that would be for 5 years till we're looking for that, correct? So maybe
Right.
that's...
The ideal would be to wait for 5 years, but realistically, with the way that the market is moving, if it continues to do so over the next 2 years, we'd probably be in another situation where our sales ratio, and they can even probably answer the questions better, the sales ratio and the coefficient of dispersion, which shows you how wide if your values are here and your sales are happening outside that range. Once it triggers something, you really have to move. There's other aspects to it too that has to do with utilities market, and I probably shouldn't get into right here, but it's in your best interest to have as close to 100% equalization rate as possible.
So we'll go to quarter, right?
Well, you can't
So
guarantee
it's
that.
one of the red flags, like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll throw up a red flag if it goes the other way?
Yes, yep, it does.
That's a big question to get. Am I gonna get a tax break when my values go down?
Hey, Rob, this is Andrew Dorset. I'm here with the select board for Littleton, and good. How you doing? And I think you said, do you also have Ken there as well?
Yes.
Okay, hey, I guess so. So the select board's been getting a number of questions about the recent reappraisal. We know that there's a process for people to follow. I don't know if you want to go over the process and then maybe answer any questions.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, but at this point, the process is pretty simple. Everybody received a letter in the mail with a new assessment on it. Phone number to call, the time to call. We're taking phone calls pretty heavy through tomorrow, and then after that, we'll have to resort to the abatement process. We've got plenty of schedules open and available, so if anybody calls through tomorrow, we'll get an appointment with one of our appraisers.
Yeah, and let's see, Selectman Emerson had some questions about what triggers a requirement for a out-of-cycle reevaluation. This one is more in-cycle, but it also was, I know that some of the same triggers were happening now to require a reappraisal.
Yeah, so this was technically the 5-year scheduled cycle of appraisal. We did do one 2 years ago, and then through, I guess after discussion with you, Andrew, that we just decided to go through the one we were contracted for this year. Basically, we signed the contract for this update prior to doing the interim update 2 years ago. So the interim was kind of just thrown in the middle there. This one was the scheduled contracted update that we were under contract for a few years. So because the market increased on average about 10 to 15% across the board, we decided to go forward with this reappraisal and catch that value.
Yeah, we had looked at actually like taking this year and not doing it. I talked to the Department of Revenue Administration based on those things I was telling you about before, like the sales ratio as well as the like coefficient of dispersion that DRA people was saying you really should get this done now. Roger had another question. When the market moves in the other direction and the sales values are dropping, does that require or trigger a need for a revaluation as well?
It could if they drop far enough, but after this year, the town would be on schedule to do one in 2025 at a minimum. And if the ratio drops below 90% or above 110, could be looking at doing another one in the interim, but yeah, it just depends on what the market does over the next few years.
Yeah.
You're looking at the increase average residential property went up 10.5% with this revaluation, so the ratios were just below 90, which is below what the DRA wants to see for a ratio.
Okay. And we don't have you were saying like residential 10.5%. Do we have the commercial / industrial and utility valuations yet to know about how much those are potentially going to impact the townwide valuation?
Yep, I don't have utilities because I'm sure San Souci's doing those.
Yeah.
And San Souci's also has that dozen or so properties that he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from those dozen that San Souci has, we have an 8.7% increase on the commercial and a 6.5% increase on the industrial.
Okay. What was the industrial again? You said that 11?
6.5.
6.5. All right. And the largest taxpayer is fixed for a little longer. That's the Great River. Any other questions about?
So what you're saying now is it'll probably be gone back over another 5 years unless there's a problem that goes wrong.
Yeah, if the value, like they were saying, if sales keep increasing and they do it quickly, if we're doing, what did you say it was 10 to 15% per year of an increase right now?
No, that's just what we've seen from the last update 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, so 2 years. So
On average, we're looking at 10%, but there's properties that have gone up upwards of 15, 20%. And some that just went up, 5 to 10%. So it's, the average is 10.5, but you're seeing properties, fluctuate around that average. So
it's, it's a
what type of
sales.
property you have, where you're located, how big it is, what's the condition, there's a lot of factors that go into, what's causing those particular properties to rise in value.
Oh, and I think too, Robert had mentioned that they start to see below 90%, like above 110%, will trigger another
Right.
or assessment.
And really the way that the reappraisals are rules are set, they're all set by the interstate law, or I think there's the Blue Book code.
Yeah, well, the IAAO, which is the International Association of Assessing Officers, has guidelines for reappraisal.
I don't know if there's any other questions. Maybe some
I
other
just have a hard time figuring out how you can put a figure on somebody's property without actually visiting it and going into it. To say that you're going on the stuff that's been sold around you, it's not fair to the people. Just because we have tourists coming in paying ungodly amounts of money for properties, the locals are the ones that are suffering. And so I'm trying to figure out how this is supposed to work.
Yeah, I think, so Roger's just bringing up how, just the way that everything's set up when a number of people come into the community from another state or another area where incomes are higher, property values are higher, they can afford to pay more for a property, and how that impacts, the local people from being able to, making their homes affordable, right? And that's, I think, the legislative issue that might need to be brought up.
Yeah, no, it's a very common theme in New England. I mean, New England in general is a tourist state, a tourist region. So I think it happens, throughout all of New England. You get people, because all states are so close together, they're switching states or getting a second home. So it's a problem that you run into in basically every community that gets a reassessment in New England. So it's a common problem, but you do the best you can with the information you have to get the values as close to market as you can. And we had ample sales to tell us, what the market was doing. It's not like we based our values on 1 or 2 sales. We had, dozens and dozens and dozens of sales. So the data set was large enough to feel really comfortable with final results.
So there is something that other states do, and I actually introduced legislation back in 2002 or 3 to try to come up with legislation to help with that. It's called homestead exemption. And so a lot of states will have, if it's your primary residence, then the first certain amount, like $40,000 of value or $50,000 or more, is actually tax exempt. And it's a way to help with people who live here year-round.
I just think a lot of this sales is COVID inspired, and if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be in this situation with stuff selling like it is for crazy money.
Well, the COVID timeframe only represents really 1 quarter of the sales we use in our analysis. We use 2 years worth of sales from April 1st of 18 to current, so basically until April 1st of 2020. So anything that sold in that 2-year timeframe was included. So really only 1 quarter of that, or 1/8 of that, technically was post-COVID, looking at the timeframe from January 1st to end of March. And that typically is the slowest timeframe for sales is your winter months. So people aren't usually buying property in that timeframe. So the only post-COVID quarter is probably the slowest quarter of the 8 quarters of the year. So like I said before, the value is the value. Markets have been really hot in a lot of things, aside from COVID effect, low interest rates, a lot of availability of money out there. The economy until COVID was pretty hot. seeing a rule basically in every community we're valuing at this point.
Any other questions?
Okay. No,
Well, I think that if the valuations all increase significantly and we all, I think, have conservative budgeting, then hopefully we'll see the tax rate start to move in a downward position. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think in general, the value of the road is consistently large groups. It's not like you're getting huge swings with individual properties. So you should see a lot of pretty consistent moves with this update. That's just the way the values were moving just pretty consistently. So there should be a lot of folks that see a really hefty increase in taxes.
And we'll have a pretty good snapshot of it once the MS1 is done. And I think right now we're waiting on some final figures from Sansucci's office to be able to do that, correct?
Yeah, no, we've got to finish our hearings too. Get the changes from the hearing process keyed in. So, like I said, the call is in tomorrow, so we're going to just do the hearings until, we satisfy everybody's need for an appointment, and then we can get all that stuff keyed into the database, run a final recalc, and give you the final numbers so that this one can get on its way.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Robert, Ken.
Yeah, no problem. Our pleasure.
All right, bye.
No, thank you.
Thank you. So I think what's next is...
Do we need a motion?
You want to direct me for the RFP?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for the town manager to release an assessing RFP.
No, second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Good, thank you.
And interesting enough, assessing is one of the specific carve-outs in RSA 37 that town managers have no authority over. So,
Oh. So, I wanted to share too, and I guess this would be under new business. I know a lot of the departments get thank you notes and notes of accolades and appreciation and Paul, I'm sure, our chief, you end up, I'm sure, getting some at the police department. I know EMS, fire department get some. And this one in particular came through mid-September, and Captain Miller was telling me about it. And I just wanted to read it. Sometimes what we hear are complaints or frustrations, so I wanted to read this. And this was especially important to the EMS crew because they had a really tough time with this family. So this came in. Dear Littleton emergency crew, thank you all so much for the wonderful care given to our mother-in-law. And then they named the street, but it was redacted. She always felt safe in your hands, and we are so grateful for your help. She is now at the Lafayette Center in Franconia and doing well, getting the daily attention that she needs. We hope that you are all staying well and know how much you are appreciated. Best wishes, and then it was signed. So it's, just wanted to share that.
We get a numerous amount of them, and they do go in the employee's personnel folder. Perhaps it's something that HR can start doing, is copying the selectmen on them.
I think that would be good.
Yeah, it's always good to get accolades of what's going on.
And then to be...
Because we always hear what's going on.
Yeah. No, it's...
You hear what's bad most of the time.
Yeah. So I think we're at public comments. Okay. Unless you guys have any other comments or anything. Okay, so we have public comments.
I just received this letter yesterday. I mean, yesterday was Sunday, but this morning. It's regard the new assessment on the property, okay? First of all, the way, it's done, I believe that it's wrong. Not just me, but talking about around the town. Over here, you know, it's the KRT, it give you 1 week to call if you haven't complained. And because, you know, the COVID-19, they're not taking no direct interview with the people that pay tax, which this is wrong. But anyway, in the other hand, right, you know, this over here is why in this particular time, right, you know, when we are at time with this COVID-19, that people, they don't work or they work part-time, and whatever is going on, you guys, you know, you got business, you know what's going on. Why just now you guys want the taxpayer to have the property reassessed and, you know, the tax is going to go up for whatever, you know, whatever percentage. I mean, if I hear correctly, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, I hear, you know, the Sinono said that we should supposed to have a tax relief, right? Because everything's going on in the state. Do you guys really believe you give a tax relief to the taxpayer of Littleton? I mean, you know, let's be honest, forget about anything else. But you guys sent this letter here to all the taxpayers in Littleton that the assessment on the property goes up. But, I mean, you know, if I was a selectman, I wouldn't be ashamed to send, you know, a letter like this to all the taxpayers. And also, they cannot even complain. They gotta call in KRT. Who the hell are these guys are, man? They are, you know, people from Boston that they come over here and tell you what to do. That's disgusting. But regardless of that, do you think this is the right time to send a letter like this to the taxpayer of Littleton? What do you think? I mean, you know, if you think it's all right, hey, you run the show. You know, I mean, I'm serious. Do that's the time? Town manager, do that's the time to the people to receive a letter like this?
Yes, it's the legal required timeline, and that's when we have to send it out. The property tax system is the broad-based tax system for the state of New Hampshire, and we have requirements that we're required to follow according to the Department of Revenue Administration. KRT is the contractor.
I understand that.
Yeah, that is, they don't, you know, probably misunderstand, they don't tell the town what to do, they have to do what the town is required to on behalf of the town according to the Department of Revenue and
but do the Department of Revenue, do they know what's going on today, you know? I mean, that people don't work, people with a job, people work part-time, people don't work at all, and you say that it's a gift over here, that, you know, the assessment on the property, you know, goes up. Come on, let's be honest, you know, that's why people, they got it up to here, you know, that you guys, I don't know what you guys are doing, to be honest with you. But if somebody tells you to raise the taxes to somebody, let's just say, you know, they lost a job and stuff like that, how do you feel? How do you guys feel? This is something humanitarian, and to know who's got no money. This letter here, it's really, it made a lot of people upset. Hey, I told about 20 people to come over here and talk with you guys. And you know what they said? You know, I don't want to talk to them and stuff like that. I mean, it's like that. You don't know it's here. But this over here, you got to do something about it. You know, you talk whatever, you got to talk down, you know, whatever, Concord or any place, you know. This thing over here, you got to rip them out and put them in the garbage, in a basket, because this, it's very uncalled for now. Eventually, you know, it's really, I'm serious. I'm serious. This is not some BS. This letter over here, it should not go out on this particular time. Maybe tomorrow, we feel better, we make more money, we whatever it is. And then, you have a meeting and you tell the people that, you raise the taxes, the new assessment and stuff like that. And also, did you realize the way, the KRP treat these people? You wrote this letter over here, or she did, whoever wrote this letter over here. What the hell do you think? You call them up and nobody's there, leave a message. I leave a message. You receive my taxi, I gotta leave a message. When you got time, you call me. Well, they don't come over here talking with the people like they did the last year. You remember? You were there. Right? Or wrong? You were there, right? When the people come into your office to complain about the taxation. You forgot already?
No, there's just a lot of kind of misunderstandings, and I don't really know where to start. This isn't about taxation, this is about valuation.
Valuation.
And again, it's required by state law, the timeline's required by law, the timeline has to do with the setting of the tax rate. There's quite a bit there. The calling in and being able to leave a message is really convenient. We do have a really part-time coverage for our assessing and the revaluation. It's really
Andrew, they give you 1 week to call. Since the time you receive this letter, it's just 1 week to call in, make sure that he's over there is enough for coffee, he doesn't go for coffee, and you gotta make sure that that particular person that you want to talk to is there. 1 week. It's not like they give you a month. 1 week. And do you think that's right for the
I
taxpayer?
just think maybe tonight we're not gonna be able to solve all this.
No, I mean just, yeah, I understand.
So we're not gonna be able to solve it. We do appreciate, the three of us are taxpayers too here.
I understand, yeah.
And we understand that the week time limit probably is a crunch for some people. The other thing is, and I'm not sure how much you heard from Robert and Ken, but when valuations go below 90 or above 110, we by law, we have to have the assessment done. The ironic part is if everyone appraisal or assessment goes up, there is a chance that the taxes could go down. So I think that's the part that people tend to, they can't wrap their head around because they think, wow, my house just went up to 200,000, that means I'm going to be paying more taxes. Not necessarily. In fact, the taxes may go down.
Well, maybe you don't have the hardship that somebody else has.
I agree, timing.
You know what I mean?
It's tough,
It's it.
it's tough timing, it's right in the middle of the COVID thing, we don't know where this is gonna land, but we're also required by law.
And then, Mr. Chair lady, you should never send this letter to the people. Because when you cause, you know what you cause? You're gonna cause a big, maybe argument in the family, maybe argument, outside, maybe people, I don't know what the hell they say about the poor guys over there, it's, I don't want to repeat it. I know it. But that's what it is. You should have said this letter. Come on, let's be honest.
Well, again, we appreciate you coming here tonight and representing those people that have shared with you, and we will definitely, we appreciate it, we really do.
I understand that. But when I go out, I gotta talk with somebody. I'm gonna tell them. I told them, and they say they're gonna take care of stuff like that. But the main concern, this only is for the town manager. You better call the KRT because if they think they are above the law, I'm in a lawsuit today. I sent you an email today, which you don't need the answer. They got lawsuit from Manchester all the way to Colebrook. This is the worst contract that you ever signed. And I know what you signed. You know that.
Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you.
Any other comments? That's that?
Yeah.
I know, that's okay. Well, and just for the record, Andrew did not sign that contract. So for Rudy's benefit and for the public's benefit, Andrew did not sign that contract. So, anything else, any other business? Hearing none, we will,
Wait to go to non-public?
yes,
Make a motion to go into non-public, Chad Stearns?
okay,
Second, Roger Emerson.
okay. Carrie Gendro, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyways, I was starting out sharing about some of the historic preservation challenges with a lot of the sound equipment couldn't cut into the wood in the building here, so we put everything we could away from the wainscoting, and the only challenge was these speakers. The engineer that designed the sound system said this is the best spot for the speakers. You really can't move them over to the right onto the drywall. Actually, it's plaster. So he said, really, right here on the wainscot here is the best spot to mount these. So we fortunately got coordination with the state person overseeing historic preservation, and basically got their blessing to connect them up there. But we went from having 2 speakers to having 6. So up in the balcony, there's new speakers mounted on the first poles up here, because there's been complaints of not being able to hear like a sound hole up in the balcony, so hopefully we solved that issue. We didn't have subwoofers before, so now we've got these down on the ground, so we should be able to host something a little louder.
And those also in the corners up there?
No, that's one of the old speakers.
Okay.
The one set up there in the balcony. Yep. We've got some new speakers that go up on the stage that can be moved around, feedback speakers. Those are set aside. The main thing is the simplicity of the system. On the back wall back there is a touchpad. And it's a real simple entry to turn on the microphones and just get basic audio here in the Opera House. Very simple to use. But I'll take you up on the stage and kind of show you the brain. That's how to get to the back of it, to maintain it. So this is the new system. It's on a fold-out rack. It's very nice. It's got a wireless router that's...
It's locked up.
Oh, is it locked right now? It is locked in. In any case, all the new microphones are inside there, and all the wiring's done in the back. It's pretty...
How much was it for all these components?
It's got all the wiring.
Look at the wiring.
We had the electrician, Justin Polton, came in and did all the electrical work for it, and got all the wiring pulled into the various places. The whole system was about $37,000.
And is it ready to come on and
It's not fully ready yet. There needs to be some more training done on it, so we understand how it works. They showed us how to basically use the basic microphone functionality, so we can pull out the wireless mics and use them.